I teach both yoga and AcroYoga, which is what I'm here to talk to you about today. AcroYoga is an amazing practice, really. It's a combination of yoga, L-based flying, which is one person on the ground laying down generally, and another person flying on their hands or feet, and a little bit of gymnastic strength thrown in there as well. And it's a combination of those three things to basically take your regular practice of yoga, of moving your body up into the air. So you feel weightless, you feel light, and most importantly, it's so much fun, which is one of the main reasons I love it. It really strips away your fear, brings you back to a childlike playfulness, and just inspires this benevolent curiosity that's within all of us, but sometimes we just don't let it come out. So that's what I love about the practice, and I love the connection that it gives everyone. People that don't know each other or might have, waved hello to each other across the yoga mat or across the room. They then come together, they play, they unite, and get stronger, build a beautiful community, and have a whole lot of fun in the process. So I would love for you to come and play and give acro a try. I look forward to meeting you soon. The practice of AcroYoga, really, you have to try it, to be honest. It's a beautiful practice, and if you look on Instagram or any kind of social media, it can look quite intimidating. It almost has an artistic or even a circus-like aesthetic to it. But when you really strip it down to the basic form, it's really surprising how much you can do with your own body and then in turn with another body to create those same shapes and set a solid foundation for a practice that really can take you and the people you're working with to heights that you wouldn't expect. Not only in the physical sense, but also in an emotional and a mental sense as well. You break down walls that are often built up in your mind that you can't achieve. It's something that I live by, and this practice has really instilled in me is anything that you can't do is just something that you can't do yet. And when you're working with other people in this practice, you're supporting each other and you're all rooting for each other to be able to grow and to develop, and you really achieve more than you think you would, and you'll surprise yourself in how much that you really can harness your own ability and encourage others to do that as well. So take your yoga practice, your bows, your lunges, your warriors, and use that strength and that same sense of mobility, and you'll transform it into something really beautiful, really creative, and I can't wait to see where you get. So with the practice of acro, there are probably many myths circling around. One of the main ones, or one of the fears, I guess, that comes up for me and for students that I work with most commonly is just the idea of touch and being in close quarters with people. And a lot of people say they don't like having feet all over them or, hands in places where they're unsure. But it's really a practice that does break down those layers and levels of trust. And we definitely work from the ground up with anything. We set a foundation that really gets you comfortable first and foremost in your own body, and then to translate that to another body. So you're working in groups of 2 or 3 for a lot of the practice. And yes, you do have your feet on another person's torso or legs or shins, but it's really an amazing way of not only ascertaining a sense of self-awareness in your own body, but then taking that into another person. So when you're working with another body and trying to hold them up and in turn be held up yourself, you really do pay closer attention to your own body and how you're translating that to another person. So be prepared to be in physical contact with another 1 or 2 humans, but also be prepared to really have fun with that and to surprise yourself in how you can use your own body and the alignment of bone stacking and muscle engagement around those bones to hold somebody else up. Definitely surprise yourself. Another myth or fear that arises in the practice of acro is the smelliness of people that you're working with. Obviously it is a trio and a duo based practice. Yes, we all sweat, and yes, we all do have some form of odor. It's in a controlled environment, that's all I have to say. So everyone will be set an even playing field. If one person needs to perhaps deodorize, then we'll all go through a practice of making sure we're all smelling fresh. And sweat, just like any yoga class, any yoga or physical practice or physical movement that you do, there are towels to wipe the sweat away. And more often than not, you're in an environment where it's generally quite cool, it's air conditioned. It definitely won't be a heated Bikram room that we'll be practicing in, so the sweat should be contained. But if that's an issue, fear less, it'll be under control. The element of safety comes up quite a bit. It can be a practice that you might be fearful of, being dropped or perhaps falling on your head in any of the inversions. While nothing is off limits, we always work with safety first. Primarily, that's the key. Stacking bones and making sure the alignment of the posture itself is down pat is definitely the key, but more importantly, everything we do is done with a spotter. And the spotter is like the glue that holds the pose together. You can be quite hands-on, so if you fall, you're falling into hands that are around you. So the fall will never be more than merely stepping out of a pose. Liken it to, falling out of a tree pose in your yoga mat. Your foot's there to help you, support you down to the ground, same as within the acro practice. And another big idea that people have is they need to come with a partner, or they need to have somebody else to come with. And while it's comforting for yourself to have a buddy or a partner in crime to be there with you, it's definitely not essential. Even if you do come with someone, we generally work in groups of 3, so there is a base, a flyer and a spotter, which means you'll have someone else roped into your duo anyway, so you're going to have to open up your circle at some point. So please feel free to come with someone or with a bunch of friends, but definitely feel free to come by yourself. And another point I'd love to address is, or a misconception is, I'm too tight, I'm too stiff, I'm not strong enough. To address the idea of tightness, there's nothing better to loosen your hamstrings than have someone's body weight on your feet. So many of my friends, and I came from a corporate environment, have started doing acro, and they started with feet where they couldn't even imagine their hands coming anywhere near their feet. We work with props to help you feel comfortable in every shape that you create, and it won't be long at all before you've got your hands on your feet and you're finding that extra range and mobility there. And in terms of strength, feeling not strong enough to be able to base someone or hold someone up in your hands and your feet, I will address it again. You'll surprise yourself with a stacking of your bones and a slight activation of those muscles around those bones. You'll be able to hold more weight than you ever thought that you could. If you don't feel comfortable in any one of the roles, if you don't feel comfortable being the base, the person on the ground, or if you don't feel comfortable being the flyer, you don't have to. You can choose which part of the trio that you would like to be. You can merely sit there and watch, and perhaps by the end of it, you'll feel ready to jump in and give it a go.